to present a poem. What shall I do?
What will you do? Is this a question? Show that you know the poem and remind them what a poem it is. Well, you know what you must do. Go, confront the problem, fight, win, and call me when you get back, darling. I enjoy our visits.
Welcome to the Poetry Dojo,
where we learn how to know our poems
and learn to wield them to fight and win.
Today we are considering To a Waterfowl by William Cullen Bryant.
William Cullen Bryant was born on November 3rd, 1794. He was an American poet. He lived until June 12th, 1878. His first poem that was published somewhat accidentally is called Thanatopsis, and I expect that we will be doing a article on this as well. But he did create poetry throughout his life. At the end of his life, he turned his attention actually to translating Homer and did translated, I believe, both the Iliad and the Odyssey. And he was a very strong proponent in the growing city of New York for having a park in the center of the town. And his work on that eventually led to the creation of a little spot of green called Central Park.
To a Waterfowl by William Cullen Bryant. Whither midst falling dew, while glow the heavens with the last steps of day, far through their rosy depths dost thou pursue thy solitary way? Vainly the fowler's eye might mark thy distant flight to do thee wrong, as darkly seen against the crimson sky thy figure floats along. Seekest thou the plashy brink of weedy lake, or marge of river wide, or where the rocking billows rise and sink on the chafed ocean side? There is a power whose care teaches thy way along that pathless coast, the desert and illimitable air lone wandering, but not lost. All day thy wings have fanned at that far height, the cold, thin atmosphere, yet stoop not, weary, to the welcome land, though the dark night is near. And soon that toil shall end. Soon shalt thou find a summer home and rest and scream among thy fellows. Reeds shall bend soon o'er thy sheltered nest. Thou art gone. The abyss of heaven hath swallowed up thy form, yet on my heart deeply hath sunk the lesson thou hast given, and shall not soon depart. He who from zone to zone guides to the boundless sky thy certain flight, in the long way that I must trace alone, will lead my steps aright. To a Waterfowl by William Cullen Bryant.
Where does William Cullen Bryant's poetry fall in the development of American poetry?
Right. It falls fairly early in the period, kind of before where we consider like the romantic boom of Emerson and Thoreau taking off and leading us into the transcendental poets. Bryant's early life was shaped by the poetry of Isaac Watts. So as you're reading some of these lines, you're going to see some of the same poetic meter. You're going to see some of the rhymes and even some of the almost, we might consider them slant rhymes. For instance, when we get to Teach Us Thy Way Along That Pathless Coast, Lone Wandering But Not Lost, right? So that we're going to see a little bit heavier rhythm here. That's going to be kind of a little bit more old, I would say old fashioned as opposed to what we're going to get later on.
At least it's not the da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da of Longfellow.
Oh, yeah. Longfellow really leans into that, and he doesn't, which I think is to his credit here. And I also think that he spent a lot of time out in nature, just like the other poets did of this time period. But he's sort of standing on that bridge from the old world of the rationalist thinking. Like there's a certain set of laws, there's this divine providence, there is nature and nature's God, and then you have nature, and that this nature's God is instilled within nature, like the ability to teach lessons. This is what we see here in this poem.
Yeah, there is a drawing away from the name and person of God.
For sure, but we capitalized power.
We got a capital power, whatever that may be, and we've got a he at the beginning of a stanza that if you are really hot on the idea of thinking, oh, this is going to be a Christian poem, okay, then I'll make you feel better.
Right, and I think that is really what you see in these early romantics, because enough people in America at this time still were deeply religious. They still believed in God. They still were going to church every Sunday, and they would consider themselves upstanding, good Christians. But as we get closer to that transcendental apotheosis with, Thoreau and Emerson, we're moving away from the personal God of the Bible, revealing himself to you in his word, and revealing in his word how he wants you to live. So here we see the beginning of God, in quotes, using the natural world to teach you a lesson, which honestly, really, you can open up the Bible, and perhaps the Bible's where you should be learning that God can guide your steps.
The message in the Bible is going to be not only that don't worry, God is carrying me on my way, but this is how you are to live. And these things that you've done while being carried on your way were wrong, and you need to repent of them. There's none of that here.
Oh, absolutely. And the other things that appear in this poem that tend to be really apparent in later transcendental poetry, notice that both the bird, the waterfowl, and the person seeing the waterfowl, they're solitary. They're alone. They're not living in community. They're not walking along with other pilgrims along this path. They get this sense of the divine way to live my life as an individual, as opposed to I'm living in, the fellowship with God's people. The
Gnostic truth, in quotes, that you discover, you can't express it, but you discover it by experience.
Yeah. For sure. And what's interesting is that we do have a villain here in this poem, and the villain is the fowler, and that's the person who's out there hunting
with
birds,
a gun, trying to shoot the waterfowl out of the sky.
Trying to shoot the waterfowl, and so the enemy is from without. The enemy is not within. And we also have that idea of I go out into a solitary place and I can expect to be taught a deep lesson. And if I don't take away that deep lesson, then my time in nature has been wasted.
The third stanza has the plashy brink and the chafed ocean side. Plashy is like it sounds. It's splashy if you're unfamiliar with the word. Chafed. He used chafed. What was he accomplishing with that description? Well,
the most important thing that he's doing there is keeping the meter of the poem. And because we say chafed. Chafed breaks it into two syllables with the accent on the first syllable. We see just the tiniest hint here of the water, the ocean, as a part of being the nature that's a little bit on the dangerous side, and the land where the trees are and the animals live.
We have traveled to the edge. We've got the illimitable abyss. We have the ocean that is rushing against the shore.
Right.
And as it were, we're almost standing on that edge where we leave the land behind, and the greater powers of larger forms that we do not quite comprehend are available to us to come up against and learn from by experience.
Yes. And I think one of the things that's also interesting here is the sense of where the power is residing. The power is residing in the illimitable air.
That means illimitable means without limit. Which in our modern society, we go, hey, but there's space. It's like, well, from their time, they didn't think that way.
No. And we also see at the end, zone to zone and boundless sky. So God is very far removed from the person standing here, almost in a deistic sense. God's far removed from this person, so God is going to use a proxy, the bird, to teach the man or woman, whoever is just standing on the bank, how to live their life. I think also...
And really, in teaching how to live their life, in heavy quotes, because the only thing it communicates is he's guiding you on your way. He doesn't tell you how to live. He's just guiding you. So whatever path you take, it's okay.
Right.
He's guiding you.
He's guiding you. And it's going to be long. And
I stole those beers because he was guiding me. It was along my way.
But I did it my way, and I did it my way. It's alone. And that's really hugely important, because when you get to the transcendentalists, and even now, we have rugged individualism of America, we don't want other people to come alongside us and tell us that we're doing something that's wrong. And we also really want to pull ourselves up by our own bootstraps. We don't really want to seek help from other people.
But the bitter consequence of that is it does leave you alone. And there are many a philosopher that will proudly say, we are all alone, unable to really commune. Language loses its power, and we are unable to reach out and comfort each other by being part of a community. And when you have that community and you're just slipping out of it for a little while, it can feel, oh, wow, that's a rush.
And so it's freedom, right? You have some freedom right there.
But the longer you do this until you eat away and that community is lost, then that rush turns into horror.
And it is going to eventually birth what will be the nihilism of the postmodern nihilism of the 20th and 21st century, because nothing has meaning and you're disconnected from everybody else and even your own self. The very sad part about this poem is that this power is not a personal power. It's not a personal God speaking to you through his word. And he doesn't even have a relationship with you. He has it with a bird, with nature, which you hopefully can commune to God through nature, which is why you're going to see later on in American poetry, if you want to get close to God, you have to go out into nature. You better not go into church. And certainly don't open up the Bible. So I always ask my students, why is it important to have a poem like this that we read? And I think because this poem is beautiful. It is beautiful, and it communicates to us the thought and worldview of a particular time that we will not understand if we can't really. History is not a collection of names and dates. It is living people and their stories. And if we want to understand those people as part of God's history, we need to understand how they think, and how they think will shape their poetry. Thank you for tuning in. This has been a DieCast Media Group production. Please recommend us to friends, family, relations, but not your competitors. Feel free to email us with questions at poetrydojo@diecastmediagroup.com. Tune in next time for another exciting episode and another fine poem.